Remember we'd be lying on the floor in one of the studios and you'd look up out of the windows and across the street was
the Chinese embassy.
And there were these red Chinese all in their Mao suits across the street sort of looking down on us.
What are those people doing?
We're all going,
I remember being terrified.
And we used to wave at them.
I mean, it's all a mishmash of, you know, boyfriends and New York in that time, which was the mid-'70s, which was fabulous.
And I had a crush on Thomas Gibson, and I wrote him a love letter and put it on the board. Newsflash!
When I found out that they got rid of the cut program, I said, I feel like a Christian martyr, and I'm Jewish.
Robin Williams and I were roommates for that first year.
Robin Williams would be bottom, and then when he wasn't bottom, he'd be peas blossom. No, mustard seed.
And on the last day of school, he promptly took off for Marin County, and I said, where are you going? He said, well, you know, school's over.
He rolled up this really long stocking cap, and he put it on his head, and he had some way of doing something that made...
Raised his eyebrows.
Yeah, and it made the hat go whoop on top of his head. And he'd go,
So whenever I saw him, I reminded him he owed me a month's rent, you know.
Robin Williams popping
You guys
his
remember?
popping his hat, going,
mustard seed.
That went on for about 30 years.
In our first Shakespeare class with Michael Ingham, he was having people go around and start the sonnets or whatever they were working on. And it was like this. Okay, oh, Karen, it's your turn. To be your... Stop! You're boring me!
And I had Edith as a teacher, and I remember the first day in class, and she asked me to pronounce my name. And you are? James Harper. No. You are James Harper.
Pierre Lefebvre came to my 21st birthday as a surprise, which my mother arranged, but of course she put the wrong date, so he came the day before.
This kind of dark clown came out of Justin, and he said, okay, Chris.
Welcome to class,
Welcome
Chris.
to class.
I saw him. What the hell are you doing in my house, Pierre Lefebvre? And he goes, well, your mother, she invited me. She did put the wrong day, you know, before, but I am here today.
And he starts welcome to class. And while he's doing this crazy thing, what he ends up writing on the chalkboard is, help me!
And we were doing All My Sons in the first year, directed by Becky Guy, and Adam Driver and I were playing the son and the father. And it was our first year, so we were just sort of airing it out, and we were feeling really good about ourselves. We did a run, we were just sobbing and weeping and throwing chairs, and we felt like that's as good as acting gets, you know? That's like, people have acted before, but this is the good stuff. And, you know, I was standing there like, and Becky Guy looked at us and said, that's great, you had a lot of feelings, but you gotta do something.
I'm still the only Juilliard student who has the distinction of having made Michael Kahn vomit.
My favorite memory of Mina was we moved away from character masks, we moved into animal masks.
It was acting class third year, and I brought in Richard III.
I ended up with the cow mask, which I didn't want.
There was zero intellect. It was the worst Richard that's ever been done. I don't know why, it just happened.
So on went the cow mask. I was crawling around on all fours, mooing, trying to physically, you know, embody a cow, find its spiritual inner dialogue or whatever.
To say that it was an evisceration would be putting it very mildly. It was a total annihilation.
I just remember Mina coming over to me.
He had sort of slid his way over to the doors.
She crouched down and whispered in my ear while I was mooing.
And the last thing he said before leaving was, and if you'll excuse me, I now have to go throw up.
You do not look like a cow. You do not act like a cow. That was my favorite Mina memory.
I used to try and lie about what group I was in to make myself younger.
They were honoring Patti LuPone at this huge dinner, and I was my friend's +1, and Patti LuPone was there, and Mandy Patinkin was there.
That blew up pretty badly on me once. I was on a set with Tim, actually. He and I were both coaching on that show. And he said, oh, you know, the kid who's playing the reporter, he just graduated. So let's have lunch with him, it'll make him feel better. I said, okay, sure.
I hadn't graduated yet, so I was like, you know, young and eager. And I just went up to her as she was, you know, taking a little break, and I said, I just want to introduce myself, Joy Soprano, Group 37. She's like, what?
So we sat down to eat, and the kid says right away, what group are you in? And so I thought about it, and I said, Group 19. And Tim did a spit take and lost half his lunch across the table. And the kid goes, I was in Group 19.
I was like, Group 37. She's like, Group 30. Mandy! Group 37!
We're old.